Sobat Iklim, saat ini saya Sri Mulyani Tias menyapa dari Pavilion Indonesia di Expo Dubai City, tempat gelaran Conference of the Parties ke-28 UNFCCC. Terdapat lebih dari 104.000 delegasi yang hadir untuk negosiasi, untuk side events, dan parallel events, termasuk countries pavilion. Menurut panitia lokal, terdapat lebih dari 300 pavilion karena tidak hanya pavilion countries, tapi juga pavilion non-state actors. Saya sudah kedatangan 2 tamu spesial di pavilion office. Yuk kita cek siapa saja nih tamu spesial saya. Halo Sobat Iklim, siang ini saya ditemani oleh Maher Al-Kaabi, board member Al Circle Group. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, thank you very much.
Sebelah kiri saya, sahabat saya, Dr. Nofrisal Tahar, Direktur Pengelolaan Sampah Ditjen PSLB 3 KLHK. Gimana Dubai, Pak?
Luar biasa Dubai, Mbak Ning.
Aduh, kemarin keren banget. Ini paparannya di sesi youth kan. Sobat Iklim, dalam konteks perubahan iklim, ALS melakukan pengurangan emisi karbon melalui pengolahan minyak jelantah menjadi minyak goreng recycle, skincare, bahan baku kosmetik, minyak bakar oktan rendah, dan pupuk. Maher, thank you for having you spoke at the Indonesian Pavilion yesterday. Your presentation was enlightening. I told to my colleague in Indonesia that your company has experience in fat, oil, and grease waste management facilities. You mentioned that Al Circle signed an MOU with several local government in Indonesia, such as Surabaya and Tangerang. The latest is the signing of an agreement with the Nusantara Capital Authority, the authority of IKN. Yeah. Now, please share your insight, what you have been doing recently in Indonesia. Yeah. For example, how confident are you that these waste management facilities will worth the investment?
Thank you very much for the question and invitation over here. I think it's important that we carry out a feasibility study before we move on and do anything. That's why we had a team who actually went to Indonesia, went to Surabaya, went to Tangerang, and actually they were scanning the markets.
When it was?
This was a couple of months ago.
Okay,
And
just recently, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. After signing the MOU, the team has went and visited along with the local authorities and the government over there to look at the practices of the food establishment, like the restaurants, the coffee shops, hotels.
Okay.
And then we discovered there are also factories, which we were not aware of at that point of time.
Okay.
So they also scanned that market and they came back with the feedback. So what we did, we analyzed that feedback and we realized that we need to do even a further more study because Indonesia is a very large country. So they are diverse in what they want to do. So it might be different from one province to another province.
Of course, yes.
So that's why we need to send the team again. We're waiting for certain information from the local authorities for the respective provinces, and then we'll be able to go and do another study. So that will build our confidence in terms of saying, okay, now we have the right methodology in place.
Okay.
We have the right feasibility in place in terms of working on the financial model. And then we can go to the government saying, this is how we believe we can work out with you.
Okay. Do you have already this kind of facilities in other countries?
Yeah, the first facility we started was in Dubai.
Okay, of course.
And this happened something in 1984.
A long time ago.
When the government came to us and said, look, we've got a problem with clogging of our municipal lines.
Okay.
So when we started the seed of saying, okay, how do we address that problem? We started a company in 1990 where they said, okay, the first solution would be how do we put a grease trap which will trap all this grease and fat and oil grease. So we can then divert it to a certain place. And as the ideas evolved, then we said, okay, we need to treat. Once we collect this waste, we have to treat it. There's no use of taking the waste from one place and dumping it into one central place. So the plant got inaugurated in 2009. The initial phase of the plant was managing 50,000 gallons per day.
50,000 gallon
per day. Now we made a second phase. We added another 50,000 in the 2018.
You did export also?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how we do that thing. So we now we do about on per day 95,000 gallons per day. Gallons per day.
Okay. And most of fat, oil, and grease, yeah, we call it VOG, are not soluble, yeah. Is there any new technology will be applied to this FOG rather than just dump in landfills in Indonesia?
This is indeed a very interesting question, and I'll tell you why. When we brought the technology and the machines from Germany being very advanced in doing this kind of things, back in 2007, the machine broke down.
In Dubai.
It didn't work. We realized the waste, European waste, is different than our waste.
Okay.
And our waste is similar, when we did the analysis, to what Indonesian waste is.
Oh,
So the team, the technical team that we had, and the chemists that we had, they actually had to do a lot of treatment and a lot of R&D to change the machines. And then the machines become perfected over a couple of years, and only then will we be able to manage the waste. So that's mean we do have a solution today, which is the most unique one at this point of time, to the entire Middle East that we do that thing.
thank you. Pak Nov,
Yep.
dengan adanya potensi green investment ya, seperti yang akan dilakukan oleh Al Circle, seberapa jauh nih kesiapan aturan dan kebijakan KLHK dalam mendukung masuknya green investment di Indonesia?
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Mbak Ning. Selamat sore waktu Dubai buat semua yang mengikuti podcast ini, Sobat Lingkungan. Pertama mungkin saya ingin sampaikan Bu Ning terkait dengan kita menyebutnya used cooking oil di Indonesia atau minyak jelantah. Itu saat ini sudah ada kapasitas kurang lebih 20.000 ton setiap bulannya. Jadi setahun itu kurang lebih mungkin ada 250.000 ton used cooking oil yang dikumpulkan, kemudian diekspor ke luar negeri, terutama ke Jerman. Tadi sempat disebut. Jadi di Jerman itu nanti diolah menjadi biodiesel, bioenergi. Jadi artinya itu sekarang kapasitas ekspor dari minyak jelantah sudah segitu, 250.000 ton per tahun. Mungkin potensi yang dimiliki Indonesia jauh di atas itu, karena kita masih melihat belum semua juga semua minyak jelantah terutama yang dari household rumah tangga itu terkumpul dengan baik. Itu yang pertama yang ingin saya sampaikan. Jadi potensinya masih sangat besar karena ini bisa diubah menjadi bioenergi atau biodiesel. Yang kedua, pemerintah Indonesia saat ini sudah ada kebijakan, Bu Nining, yang kita kenal dengan B40, B40, yaitu mendorong 40% biodiesel di dalam biodiesel ya, campurannya. Sehingga memang ini akan meningkatkan penyerapan dari dalam negeri, dan salah satu sumbernya adalah used cooking oil ini, atau yang disebut tadi oil and grease tadi, atau minyak jelantah gitu loh. Jadi ke depan kemungkinan mungkin ekspor bukan akan berkurang karena kita juga akan meningkatkan kebutuhan dalam negeri karena kebutuhan B40 tadi campurannya. Jadi itu yang kedua yang ingin saya sampaikan. Dan yang ketiga adalah pada saat ini juga di Indonesia berkembang dengan pesat, Bu Nining, terkait dengan social ecopreneur. Social ecopreneur itu adalah gerakan-gerakan partisipasi publik yang menggunakan bisnis startup dengan apps, teknologi apps begitu kan, dengan IT. Sehingga memang pengumpulan minyak jelantah itu sangat mudah dilakukan sekarang. Jadi melalui social ecopreneur ini. Jadi dengan sendirinya ini potensinya akan sangat besar di Indonesia. Jadi tentu kita sangat welcome tentunya kalau ada investasi yang memang ingin membangun industrialisasi minyak jelantah di Indonesia menjadi biodiesel misalnya, menjadi bioenergi ataupun produk turunan lainnya yang memang bisa dilakukan itu.
Okay.
Makasih Bu Nining.
Thank you. What is the big challenges of developing the future waste management factories in Surabaya and Tangerang?
Usually, anything you develop in the world, what you want to do is all about making sure that you have alignment. I.e., is the government, local government, looking for solutions like that? And they're willing to make sure that they would progress in making that happen. That's number one. Number two would be, how will they want to manage their waste? How is it that they want to make sure that this waste is managed? Is it something that they want to do it where we can actually come in as a foreign company will come and help them and provide them the solutions? Those are important. Number three would be, how do you make financially is viable? Because waste management companies globally are suffering, and that's why a lot of governments comes and incentivize them. So they provide them incentives for these companies to work because their initial capital is very expensive. For you to make money, it takes a number of years before you actually break even. So there's a lot of investment from private companies. So if governments is really serious about it, that means the government need to also subsidize quite a number of things for this plan to work in Surabaya.
Apakah KLHK sudah mengidentifikasi kota-kota mana di Indonesia ya? Tadi sudah Surabaya, Tangerang menjadi prioritas untuk pengembangan green investment pengolahan minyak jelantah ini.
Baik Mbak Ning, di Indonesia ini kan sebenarnya kita punya kalau di Jawa sudah pasti ya semuanya kotanya sudah kota metropolitan dan kota besar. Dan di luar Jawa juga mungkin punya potensi besar. Misalnya di Sumatera itu pasti di Medan dan Palembang itu punya potensi yang sangat besar karena karena juga penduduknya sudah di atas 1 juta. Jadi memang masuk kategori metropolitan.
Medannya.
Ya, kalau di Kalimantan sekarang kita juga sedang fokus untuk membangun new capital kan. Jadi memang Kalimantan Timur itu bisa menjadi pilihan misalnya Balikpapan. Kemudian di Sulawesi itu kota Makassar dan mungkin juga Manado itu bisa menjadi pilihan. Jadi saya pikir kita bisa mengembangkan di beberapa tempat termasuk di luar Jawa tentunya di Indonesia Bu Ning terkait dengan membangun industri dari pengolahan minyak jelantah ini yang berpotensi besar sebagai untuk membuat biodiesel sehingga menjadi fuel baru begitu kan. Yang berikutnya yang penting juga menurut saya adalah terkait dengan regulasi Bu Ning. Ya, pertama yang pasti Kementerian Pemerintah Indonesia sudah memasukkan regulasi B40. Tapi juga kemarin kita juga di bawah Kementerian Menko Perekonomian itu sedang membangun yang namanya regulasi untuk mendorong tumbuhnya sirkular ekonomi. Nah, ini kan bagian dari sirkular ekonomi sebenarnya. Jadi pertama misalnya bagaimana insentif tadi dimaksudkan, misalnya bagaimana misalnya PPN-nya ini lebih kecil daripada standar PPN. Ya, ini yang sedang juga didiskusikan. Yang berikutnya juga bagaimana misalnya mendorong recycling konten itu menjadi lebih mandatori nantinya. Jadi B40 itu memang kita harapkan menjadi mandatori.
Ya.
Saya pikir itu Bu Ning. Terima kasih.
Thank you. Last but not least, how do you see the future of this green investment in Indonesia?
I think it's start with regulation.
Okay.
If we have the right regulation in place, that will incentivize a lot of foreign companies to come in and bring in the solutions they have and collaborate with the Indonesian government. The other important factor is the data. If we have enough data available, so it's easier for us to analyze. And those are the things that we're working very closely with most of the provinces and mayor's offices to make sure that we have the right data, so we can build the model correctly to see, okay, this is workable, not workable solution. Because one thing you want to do, the amount of waste that you have available, is it enough for you to process to build a plant which is going to be conducive, which is going to be financially viable for it to work on? So if these two things work very well hand in hand, and you can add the third angle to that after that, which is first of all starting with regulations, rules and regulations, availability of data, and then you can start an awareness program. Remember, when you want to change the people's DNA and what they want to do, it takes quite a long time. So we got the experience when we started this in Dubai. The food establishment was saying it, why are we doing these things? Because they didn't want to do anything about waste management. But then we have launched several awareness programs in collaboration with the local authorities. We involved them. We did a lot of academies research with them, lots of training with them. And slowly, it became something very strong. And we mastered it over the last 14, 15 years now.
Okay. Nih, Pak Nov,
Ya.
data is always challenging. I believe Pak Nov already made some progress.
Ya. Ya, saya pikir data ini sangat penting untuk memastikan investasinya bisa berjalan baik di Indonesia tentunya, Bu Ning ya. Pada prinsipnya terkait dengan minyak jelantah ini sudah banyak asosiasinya. Ada asosiasi ekspor minyak jelantah, ada asosiasi minyak jelantah Indonesia, ada asosiasi juga pengumpul minyak jelantah gitu loh. Jadi sebenarnya kita bisa memfasilitasi bertemu dengan berbagai asosiasi itu sehingga kita juga bisa membangun mendapatkan data-data yang valid tentunya, dan bisa juga memang membangun kolaborasi sebenarnya dengan berbagai asosiasi yang sudah bergerak ini. Jadi kita nggak start dari nol tentunya. Kalau Pak Maher ingin berinvestasi di Indonesia terkait ini, kita bukan start dari nol, tapi kita sudah punya langkah-langkah yang di awal tentunya yang bisa mempercepat proses ini. Terima kasih.
We have already precondition to accelerate the implementation of the investment. Ya. Sobat Iklim, what a great insight from our special guest today. Waste management facilities and other means of green investment are of the promising climate action in Indonesia. Let's be hope. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Thank you very much, ya Pak Nov, ya.
Thank you. I think it's very important. We're looking for amazing collaboration, and this is one of the biggest for us, and I think the most important international expansion. And the reason we've chosen Indonesia for a couple of reasons. One of them is the strong ties that both government has together. The both presidents as well have a brotherly relationship. And also even us, we believe that there's a lot of similarities between what we want to do in the country and what the Indonesian government is doing. And that has encouraged us actually to come and look at the Indonesian market and explore it and invest over there.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu Ning.
Thank you very
See you
much.
again. Right.
Pleasure.